Hey guys, Chris here with the Good Old Gamer. So just a few days ago, I got in my brand new Pixio PX329 32-inch 144/165. It's really a 144 hertz display. And this is a really excellent monitor. Honestly, I was hoping to get something a little bit smaller. I was looking for like a 27-inch, but the value on this monitor was so great that I had to buy it. So you guys are probably wondering, well, hey, your thumbnail was basically talking about retro tech and you're talking about new tech. Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this lets you know the exact position that I'm in. I just bought one of these. As you can see here, they're only $299 or sometimes even less. And this is right now probably overall the most cost-effective monitor you can get with most of the technologies that people want. It has FreeSync, 144 hertz, and it's 1440p. These are kind of the staples that most gamers are looking for in their monitors here today in 2019. So this is probably the best representation of the monitor that people want. Now, I went ahead and watched a video from Digital Foundry, I'll put the link in the description below, where these guys are talking about the fact that old monitor technology is actually the superior technology. And that is, of course, CRTs. This is something I've mentioned on this channel a few times. I've been interested in checking this out for myself, but these guys went back through and they tested out new games on old CRT monitors and found that the visual quality is so striking that it just makes modern LCD monitors, such as mine that I just bought, basically look stupid. Now, this is only under certain use cases, specifically for gaming, but I actually was watching this video and something clicked. As you guys know, over the past few weeks or so, looking at the market, I've been telling you guys just buy something that's going to be the most cost effective, get the most bang for your buck, keep stuff as long as possible, ride it till it dies type of a thing. And the phrase that they used in their video that really showed that it's the monitor technology that's holding us back more than anything was when John Linneman basically said that he would rather play on a CRT monitor at 1024 by 768 than on a 4K display. Or rather, I'm paraphrasing here, but rather he said it actually looks better. And the reason for that is modern LCDs, they have a lot of issues that they've tried to overcome. They've gotten better with high refresh. That's the reason why people like high refreshes, because during motion, things are a lot less blurry, but they're still blurry. On a CRT monitor, that's not the case. It can handle the smooth motion between, basically looking around in an environment infinitely better than any LCD monitor on the planet. No matter how expensive it is, no matter how high spec it is, it can't compete with an old CRT monitor. And what both John and Richard basically subjectively observed is that makes a much larger overall impact than just pure resolution. Over the past few years, that's really kind of been the push on PC gaming, is higher and higher resolutions with higher and higher frame rates to compensate for the lack of technology in our displays. And the display, or monitors, or TVs, or whatever you use, is the gateway into the game world. So if that is basically the limiting factor, you're overcompensating on your PC side to basically try to fix your monitor's limitations. So to me, this is really interesting. So more of a thought exercise for now, and I'm kind of interested if you guys want to see me try to put this into practice. Finding decent CRT monitors is no longer easy. They're no longer cheap because a lot of people have probably figured this out. It just hasn't been brought to the mainstream. Digital Foundry just started doing some testing and they brought their video. I've briefly mentioned it in a couple other videos, but haven't done the testing yet. But once people start doing the testing and bringing the information to you guys, I think a lot more people are going to go out and pick up these older monitors. So they're pretty hard to come by now, but they're going to become even more difficult if overall they are definitively found to offer a gaming experience that you just can't get with any LCD technology. So that's kind of a downside, and if you have an old CRT monitor, you might want to test this out for yourself. But the most interesting thing is if you think about it, if resolution isn't a limiting factor anymore, so for example, 1024 by 768 or 1280 by 960, essentially 720p becomes a decent resolution to game at again if the visual quality of something like that is as good or better than, let's say, 1440p or 4K on an LCD. That means you don't need to invest nearly as much money on a GPU. And that's really awesome. And then, of course, most CRTs do offer high refresh modes, so you don't have to worry about finding something that does high refresh, this, that, or the other thing. And also, things like screen tearing were never really an issue on CRT monitors, so features like FreeSync and G-Sync, those don't matter either. Those are all things that were designed to mitigate the limitations of the LCD technology. So all these things that we think are great and advancements, because they technically are, is just to mitigate the problems that the technology has inherently. To me, this is a really interesting conundrum, because they were talking even going down to something like 640 by 480. I think that would obviously be a bit low res, but that I can test. I do have a very high quality CRT TV downstairs. It's a late model Toshiba. Actually came with the house when we bought it. My wife wanted me to throw it out, and I was like, well, let me do some homework, and I looked it up, and it's rated as one of the top 5 best CRT gaming TVs ever made. I'm like, no, that's worth at least $1,000 at this point, and in a few years, probably $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000, especially if they don't make the technology anymore. And as time goes on, obviously, it's going to become more rare. But I can use that, and I've been debating on this. I was literally thinking about this over the past couple of days, because there are ways to get, older graphics cards to be able to utilize component. I believe up to the GTX 200 series, they offered component output, and the TV downstairs has component input. So I was thinking about setting that up. Then I watched this video here today, and I'm like, that's kind of ironic, but it would make for an interesting exercise, running at extremely low resolutions on a CRT, if that actually offers a greater than or equal to performance to my brand new 1440p 144 hertz display. That would be very interesting. Now, of course, PC monitors can go to even higher refresh, and that's a little bit different. But like I said, I do have the TV downstairs, and that might be worth checking into. I was initially thinking about it for, like older RetroPie, older games and stuff like that, just as like a secondary thing. So this way, we're planning on having kids here soon, so I was like, have that set up, the old-timey setup for the kids. So that's the reason why I was originally thinking about it, but now if the technology is that much better, and we just don't remember it, because CRTs really weren't regularly in use for about 15 years now. So yeah, we've basically had this technology for so long that we can't really remember. And many of you guys might be too young to really remember gaming on CRTs other than maybe like a TV. The high quality monitors are extremely expensive and extremely rare, and I've been looking for them. I haven't had any success, and I think it's going to become even more rare. But I do feel that this is a great mitigation to a lot of the problems that we have. They're using it as a mitigation for RTX. Basically, you can throw on all the settings because you're running at such a low resolution, but the resolution doesn't matter because the image quality overall is better than any LCD. So it's really kind of hard to wrap your head around because it seems like a very subjective thing. But I'm interested in checking this out, and I'm really interested to see what they find, if they can come up with more of a scientific method for testing this. Obviously, going for the subjective methodology is probably going to be the only way to do it, because it's going to differ from everybody's opinion. Like, somebody might really like it, somebody might really like the much larger displays. There's always going to be trade-offs there, but I think it'd be really interesting if this interest gets big enough, if companies like Sony, who made the best CRTs, period, back in the day, if they still have the manufacturing capability and technology, maybe make like a limited run niche, basically bring it back. If they'd be willing to bring that technology back. They haven't had the greatest success in the LCD range, but since they had the best CRTs, and if that technology is demanded by the community, because you might spend more on that monitor, but it'll last forever, because resolution seems to not matter, and it never did back in the day. If you had a 1024 by 768 monitor and your buddy had a 1280 or 1600 by 1200, you never really saw the difference. The image quality didn't really appear any different. So running at lower resolutions back in the day didn't really have too much of an impact. that is a way to mitigate the need for greater and greater PC hardware just by investing in better monitor technology. So overall, you have a better monitor and you can have a cheaper PC. I think that that's a good solution, and that might be the best solution, especially for older gamers, retro gamers, because there's no way that playing older, like 4x3 games is going to be any better on an LCD than it was on a CRT. So you get that advancement, you know, in quality as well. But if new games can also look better and benefit, I'm very interested to see this. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think down in the comment section below. Would you rather buy something like the PX329? Like I said, this is a great monitor. I really love it. Great viewing angles. It allows me to do more productivity workload. And that's something that I wouldn't be able to do on a smaller CRT. So this still has its use cases, but I can definitely notice that small motion blur that they're talking about in that video. Because it is such a large display, basically everything is amplified. You can see these minor issues much, much easier. I also like the fact that it's bigger. I can push it all the way back. It frees up some desk space. So, I mean, it does have a lot of positives. LCDs have their positive, which is mostly space conservation. But at the end of the day, if you can get yourself a cheap secondhand CRT monitor, it looks similar to what you have now. You don't need to buy as fancy a hardware in your PC, and you can still game at maximum settings with basic hardware. That's a really interesting proposition. So I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this. If you like this video, please hit that like button, please subscribe, please share with friends. That really does help me out. And if you really want to help support the channel for as little as $1 a month, that can help me get a CRT monitor on hand. Like I said, the good ones, their prices are skyrocketing right now because a lot of people are starting to figure this out, and as this video comes out and others do, more people are going to jump on that. Maybe in the future, some companies will start producing them, but for right now, they're pretty expensive for a decent 19-inch or bigger monitor. So if you want to help me get one of those on hands, I'd greatly appreciate that. But that's all I have for today, and I will catch you guys in the next video.